Hello, Coachella Valley, and welcome to the comeback. I'm your host, Katie Stice, CEO of the Rancho Mirage Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also co-chair of the board of directors for the Children's Discovery Museum of the Desert. And we have a lot of a reimagining going on, and I cannot wait to introduce you to our guest today, CEO Cindy Burrison for the Children's Discovery Museum of the Desert. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She's been a Valley resident for over 16 years, raising her family here. She's a wife and mother of two boys, 11 and 9. She comes from a sales and hospitality background, working in restaurants and resort management, has been involved in the community and nonprofit community for a long time as a board member and other volunteer roles. She's also an award winner, having won Business Person of the Year for Palm Desert Area Chamber, the CVB Award for Excellence in Hospitality and Services, and as a Leadership Coachella Valley graduate, year 2010. And this is her most exciting role, she tells us. So we're thrilled today that you've joined us. Please, if you're tuning in, tell us where you're watching from, but definitely tune in. I think that as co-chair of the board, this is the biggest and best project happening in the Valley right now. And we're going to need the entire community to come on board and help us realize this new and reimagined museum. I'm just so excited. Let's bring our guest in now. Cindy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And I know everyone keeps saying you are the perfect person in this role to do this job. It's larger than life, but as we've discussed many times, it's the right thing to do for our community.
I really agree. It's a gem. It's been around for so long, and it's now, the exciting thing is it's multi-generational, because a lot of people came to the museum as kids. Now they have kids or their grandparents took them. So it's really exciting to be a part of that.
Well, let's just jump right into it. I'm going to pull up the presentation and have you walk everyone who's watching today or on another day, because this will be on YouTube and throughout social media. We can't wait to see the vision for the museum. So let's pull that right up. And Cindy, please take us away on this new reimagined Children's Discovery Museum of the Desert.
Okay, I'm happy to. So, first of all, the number one question I get and our board gets all the time is, what's happening at the museum? And rightfully so, because we've been closed for a bit, obviously with COVID. And so everybody wants to know, are we reopening? What are we doing? So I'm really excited to have the opportunity to share with you today exactly what our plan is. And yes, our plan is to reopen next year, and we're going to reopen Reimagined. As a result of the pandemic, once we sort of figured out where we were lying with things and having to be closed for a bit with the restrictions and so forth, the board and I took a really hard look at what we could do to come out of the pandemic in a positive way and maybe take this pause as an opportunity to reinvent ourselves, because we've been in this location for 22 years. And shockingly, we've had a lot of the same exhibits for that same amount of time. So the first thing that we did was we researched and tried to find out where the gaps lied in some of the other informal learning venues in our community and the ways that we could help fill that in as a children's museum. One of the things that we found is that a lot of people think that we need to broaden our audience to include all ages and families. And so we're up for that task. We couldn't agree more. At the museum, currently, kids usually age out at about 8 years old. And so we have some solutions for broadening that audience and really serving those older kids and their caregivers and family members so that we're really a great asset to the community. And the first thing that we did was create a strategy and vision statement using creativity. And everything that we look at the museum through, the lens is going to be with a creative lens. Creativity helps to open us up to new ideas. It improves our sense of empathy and acceptance for other points of view. And that's really important, especially in our community where it's multifaceted and there are a lot of different types of people, ages of people, and opinions. So what we did first, after we developed the vision statement, was to look at a long-term sustainable plan. So what you're seeing here is our overall campus. To give you an idea of the bright white buildings are what are currently here, and the light white are future expansions, which I'll talk about in a minute. This is the phase that we are currently working on. It's really exciting. It's the first building, the largest building that we have, which is the one adjacent to our lobby if you've been here before. And the experiences in there are going to be to service 0 to 8 years old. And there are going to be a lot of exhibits, some programming, but not very much, and a lot of loose parts so that the kids in that age range really have a great experience in there. The second building is going to be more focused on 5 to 14-year-olds. So in there, you're going to have less exhibitry and more programming opportunities and places for maker spaces and things like that, that age group will respond to in a different way. And then we have a standalone building. If you've been here before, you've seen it. Our third building that we're currently calling the lab is a really exciting opportunity for us to have a space that's geared for 8-year-olds and all the way up through adults, and for our community as well. It can be a revenue generating building where community groups and different interest groups come utilize the space, can be used for celebrations. And then it's also going to be for life skills classes and things like that for the older kids that maybe don't want to come to the kids museum, but still want those learning opportunities. It's a great building with its own facilities, its own parking lot, and its own entrance, so they can go into their own space. Next, we have really big plans for our exterior space. We're going to have things like confidence courses and all different experiences for different age groups. We will have some interim outdoor experiences while we're going through these different phases, but long term, there are going to be some really exciting things in that space for gross motor experiences. And then the last phase will be a future expansion. We actually intend to expand the front entrance into closer to the parking structure, take our administrative offices and move them upstairs into a new expansion, and then actually expand our exhibitry space into the corner that's currently vacant to make way for more exhibits and make it very accessible for field trips and such. So getting back to the building we're currently working on, this is really exciting. This is what we have. We've been working with our exhibitry company, the original one from 22 years ago. They have their finger on the pulse of what's trending and what's exciting. And we really are excited to work with them and partner with them again, because we know that the quality that they provide and the experience is just insurmountable. So one of the things we did was we divided the first building into 6 different spaces that each have sort of their own theme that revolves around creativity. This gives you an idea of the first building and all of the different experiences that will be offered. It kind of shows you the scale and the magnitude of what we're talking about. There are over 40 different experiences in this building alone. So the first place where you walk in is Imagine. And if you can imagine, it's going to be very creative. It's going to be the entry point of the museum with a welcoming fantasy garden environment where all of the activities revolve around the experience of our local flora and fauna. There will be this trellis that you are probably used to seeing will have a half wall that is indigenous to some of the succulents and flowers and things here in the desert. And this is what the main wall will look like when you walk in. So no more purple wall. We're going to have a shot of color. We're going to introduce some of the insects and birds and butterflies and things that we see so often in the desert. There will be pressed flowers that kids can look at and learn about, and insects and things like that. There will be, as you see down on the bottom, there will be a shrub grub cafe, and that will elicit role play with restaurants or a store, a dining experience, whatever the kids can imagine, really. It's their creative outlet. So everything is a little nondescript here. It's not defined for kids. We really want them to come in with their creativity and imagine whatever it is they want it to be. So
Cindy,
in front of
yes. I just have to share that what I love about this, and I think what people are going to be so wowed with when we do open, is this really does have that wow factor when you walk in. And so the feeling of this entire museum is changing. The theme is changing, and the look, the feel, the exhibitry. But all of this color I just think is incredible. And I also think it's a reflection of you, because I think you're very colorful and fun and bright. And so it really sets the tone right when folks walk in. So thank you for that. I think it's beautiful.
Well, thank you. I agree. I mean, coming from a kid's standpoint, kids love walking into a place and just being overwhelmed by these kinds of graphics and color. And it's really an inviting way to bring them in. The Shrub Grub Cafe, like I said, is a great imaginative outlet for them. And in between the Shrub Grub Cafe and what you see to the right, which is the Hedge Theater, there will be some tables and chairs for caregivers and kids to sit and dine or to watch a show or whatever it is. And on the back of the Hedge Theater, there will be different costumes that will fit into the garden theme as well. So this gives you sort of some inspirational images about what this space will look like. You can see in that circular area, this actually defines some of the experiences that we're working on. There will be a large bunny topiary that will greet kids when they come in, and it will have opportunities for kids to put in silk flowers and different things to make it a really fun, unique experience every time they come. There will be a build a sculpture where we're going to hopefully find a local artist that can help us build a sculpture in the middle, and the kids will have all the loose parts to either make the same thing or whatever they want to. It's up to them. There will be the food role play, as I mentioned, the costumes, the opportunity to build flowers, just a really fun, happy place right when you walk in the door. The next space is going to be right behind those walls that naturally elicit movement because of the way they're designed. And this section is called Move. And Move really celebrates the central role of the body in expressing creativity. It helps children to put physical action and creative work into expressing their emotions and also giving them self-confidence. So you see to the left, there's going to be a large net climbing structure inside. So we'll have something fun during the summertime. And not only is it going to have an expansive bridge, if you will, of a rope climb, but it's also going to have a chimney that will go up 14 feet safely, but it's going to have the best vantage point of the museum. And kids can climb up there, get really confident about that, and be able to see everything else going on. There will be a mural climb wall on the other side up at the top right there. And that will be a climb wall that'll be about 3 times the size of our current climb wall. And we'll have hopefully a mural from a local artist as well behind it to encourage kids with motivational sayings and pictures and things like that. There will be a noodle room, which I know is Katie's favorite, down there on the bottom right. Just a fun activity, again, to creatively move your bodies. Kids don't know they're exercising if they're having fun, and that's kind of what this is all about. And then the
And
soundscape. What's
let's
that?
be real. Everybody should have a noodle room. I mean, come on. That just you just see it or you say it and it sounds like fun. So yeah, I'm there.
I couldn't agree more. And then the soundscape dance will be the same thing. The soundscape dance is going to have sensors in the ceiling that will meet the floor. And when those sound beams are broken, different music and sounds come out. So it encourages kids to constantly be moving and dancing with their caregivers, with each other, to make those sounds come out, because that's the only way it's going to work, is if they're moving. This is another pencil rendering of the idea of that rope wall and the noodle room next to each other, but you can see how the chimney part goes kind of jagged up, so it helps the kids establish that journey up there. The next space is called Express, and this is a really fun space. It's one of my favorites. The reason I'm showing this slide is because you see right in the middle of this circle, there's sort of a structure there. We're building a structure within the building. And the purpose of that is going to be to have experiences on both the interior and the exterior of the structure. Let me show you the structure. It's so pretty. It's like a stained glass house, if you will, but pulled apart in order to facilitate those different experiences inside. And the stained glass is going to be dichromatic film. So what that does, as you can see in the bottom right corner, is as our natural light in the museum comes through that film, it's going to create a prismatic kaleidoscope of color and experiences for the kids, ever changing, and just a really neat thing for them to experience.
So beautiful.
I agree. And then here are some of the experiences. Again, in this space, Express is a place where they can use colors, words, light, and music to tap into their creativity and express themselves in a different way. So, for example, there's going to be the opportunity to paint with light and have light sculptures. There's going to be the marble wall design, which will have lights behind it as well. And then our giant light bright that we already have, that's going to be a great feature there too. On the inside, we'll have a desert world music experience where kids can come and make their own music soundtracks using sounds from all over the world and locally, things like the Kauai bird songs and maybe music from Dia de los Muertos celebrations and things like that, to just create different soundtracks that they want to use to express themselves. And then there will also be a tell us about yourself response wall, and that will allow kids and caregivers to verbalize and then also write down different things, responses to prompts that we might have that change every day, that they can leave behind but have different ways of expressing themselves. The next space is experiment, and this is the largest space that we're working on. This is really going to give kids the opportunity creatively to experiment with different building for the most part. So there will be geometric panels and geometric blocks and things like that. There's going to be, you see on the top right, this does not do it justice. It's a scarf blower, but the scarf blower we're going to have is actually going to be about 14 feet tall as well. So what kids can do here is take the pipes and change the forced air pattern so that they learn how that works and changes the direction of scarves and feathers and things like that. So they're learning science and they don't even know it because they're having a great time. And same with the ball wall. We'll have the ball wall that has the different pipes and ramps and such for the kids to follow those paths. And then as you see on the bottom, they'll have the ability also to build a 3D ramp structure. So it'll come from the wall out and they can continue that on down as long as they would like. This is in the back of the museum where currently the pizza place and the store are. We're reinventing this space and we're really expanding our footprint of a toddler town, if you will. So this is going to be a safe space for 0 to 3-year-olds. And it's going to have, in the lower left corner, you can see there's going to be a half wall with seating for caregivers and a gate. So that's for our littlest littles that are learning to walk and crawl. It'll have soft seating and mats and such, a mirrored wall that they can pull themselves up on. And then the rest of this whole experience is for the 0 to 3-year-olds to feel really safe, have some soft hills and slides and things like that, a pour and measure experience, a Plinko ball fall so they can see how that type of thing works. And then in the top right there, you see a caregiver resource center, and that's going to provide programming and resources to support and connect families in the community. So it will have books, it will have brochures about the other places in the community, other services for families, and then also the opportunity for parents and caregivers to read to their kids. And then we move upstairs, and this is a space that we didn't have before that we're really excited about. This space is called Dream, and it provides a world of sensory opportunities where kids are invited to imagine themselves in different roles, create stories, relax, and enjoy specially designed sensory activities. So here, when you go up the stairs, we're going to partner with our friends over at Friends of the Desert Mountains to help us with some graphics and some things that are indigenous to this area, like life zones. What lives at the bottom of the mountains? What lives at the top of the mountains? And how can we graphically show kids that as they're coming up the stairs? And then where you see all of the different T's and the lines, those are actually going to be mountain facades, so that it'll differentiate each space. And then as you walk through, there will be a soundtrack in each of those spaces. So when you come to the top, you'll see the bird mobile. We are partnering with a bird expert at COD to make sure that those are indigenous to our area, and there will be a bird soundtrack there. To the right, we'll have Camping Corner, which will have a starry sky, a campfire, costumes that go along with that, like a ranger and things that they can have some role play there. And that soundtrack will be more like crickets and coyotes and sort of nighttime sounds. On the back side of that, there will be a water wall, which will be reminiscent of a waterfall, if you will, with a fishing activity and some of those types of sounds. All very relaxing, very much of an evening type experience. So it really facilitates that calm. And then at the end, there will be another space that will be more designed for even more calm as far as reading and relaxing. There will be sensory toys there and a lot of soft seating and such. And then there's going to be a little telescope that looks down to the rest of the museum.
Love it.
And so I like to show this slide because this sort of shows if the museum were devoid of everything, every exhibit, and just had the existing walls. Um, this is a great cross section to show the majority of that first floor and then what it could look like once it's full of some of these experiences. So it's quite a difference.
It is beautiful, Cindy.
So
It looks
beautiful.
so colorful, and I mean it's just every experience you could hope to have at a museum, from the colors and the sounds and the lights and the fun, and even a quiet spot where you can go and relax and get centered again if you need to, because there is a lot happening in the rest of the space. It is absolutely stunning.
Thank you. I agree. I think we've done a really thoughtful job being mindful of all of these things and really giving our community something that they deserve. So it's really exciting. And then, of course, I just want to thank you, Katie, for this opportunity, for your support as the co-chair, and to the chamber for not only everything you've done to support the museum, but our community as a whole. I mean, there's no denying you. You guys have done a great job. So thank you for that.
Well, I so appreciate it. And I will go ahead and I'm going to just hide your presentation because I think that was the last slide. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And let's talk about, okay, that is amazing. There's not just so much happening in that main gallery. I know that's the first focus, but what I love is that the long-term plan for the museum, there are, 5 phases that are really going to take our community to the next level. And it's not all going to happen immediately, but I think what we need, everyone who's out there watching, participating, sharing this video. I see, by the way, I've never seen so many comments before on one of these StreamYard interviews. What we need is support. We need sponsors and donors. And so, folks who want to give some of those major gifts or even a smaller gift, what's the best thing that they can do?
So one way is to go onto our website, which you can see down at the bottom, cdmod.org. There is a button there to donate. If it's something that you want to talk to me about, if it's an in-kind donation or a corporate sponsorship or a larger donation, feel free to reach out to me. My email is real easy. It's exec, EXEC, at cdmod.org.
So Cindy is, ready to meet with anyone who wants to really get involved and help make this vision a reality. 20 or so years ago, this museum was just coming to the community in the same capacity, and it's really built by the community for the community. And so, large gifts, major donors, sponsors, but every size gift is going to help us make this vision a reality. And you've just been a rock star to really say, unfortunately, we had to close. A hands on museum doesn't do well during a pandemic. But when we reopen, what should really that look like? Having exhibits that have lasted that long is wonderful. But it was really time for a change. And so, kudos to you for your leadership in helping bring this to the valley. And again, anyone who's out there watching, reach out to Cindy. The website is there. Her email is exec@cdmod.org. And, I know this time when the museum is going to remain closed while construction happens and we rebuild, we fundraise, we get out into the community and build those partnerships, we're still don't have our doors completely closed. Tell us a little bit about some of the programming that you're working on.
So one of the things that I thought about was the role that the museum should play with raising our future philanthropists and how we can support our community during this time, since we're not doing it like we ordinarily would by being open. So we created a program called Little Kids Big Impact. And what that's going to be is a monthly tangible item drive here in our parking lot. It'll be on a Saturday once a month, and I'm looking to partner with different nonprofits throughout the entire valley of any type of cause, not necessarily just a children's cause, because we want to have as much reach as possible. And we're going to have a drive partnering with those nonprofits once a month. Folks can bring those items here. And the second part of that is to really have your kids be engaged in the giving process. And that means having them maybe spend part of their money or select the item that's being donated. And something that I think is really critical is having them turn the item over to us when they get here, so that when we thank them very graciously, they can feel in their heart what it feels like to do good. And I think that's a really important responsibility for the museum, is to help raise our future givers.
And tell me the name of that program again.
Little kids, big impact.
I love it. And people will be able to get more information about that on the Children's Museum website or on that Facebook page as well. And in addition, as a board member, Cindy and I get to meet often. We've also been talking about bringing back possibly some fun events that we're really known for maybe in the second half of this year. Do you want to give some little teasers about things we're working towards?
Well, we're hopeful. I mean, again, it's going to just depend on the state of everything and how things go here. But we have talked about some of our signature fundraising events like the Duck Pluck and Touch a Truck, which is a personal family favorite, and some of those things and other fundraising events that we'll be working on for sure.
Well, we just can't thank you enough for stepping into this role as you have. This is a huge, huge project, but as we stated in the beginning, it's the right thing to do for our community to come back reimagined and renewed. And when we're able to bring these families back together inside this space, it really is going to leave lasting memories and lifelong learners as well. Is there anything else you'd like to leave for everyone who's watching today?
No, just thank you all for the outpouring of support for both myself in this role and just the fact that we are reimagining the museum. It's so great. Everywhere I go, everyone that I talk to is really excited about the museum. It just gives me chills because I couldn't be more excited. So thank you to our community for the support.
And it really does happen. She's not just saying that. So the theme that we keep repeating over and over again is there's miracles
Miracles
everywhere.
everywhere.
And I
Yep.
get little emails or text messages from Cindy saying there was another miracle today. And I actually see one in the comments too. Someone said, "Oh, I know a local muralist, someone who can do art." So I know
Great.
all of you out there are so excited to support this museum, this effort, for our local families and for visitors as well to have a great experience when they're here in the valley. I encourage you, reach out to Cindy and see how you can help partner, because she's the creative one too. If you're not sure how you can partner, she might find a way for you too. But there certainly are miracles everywhere, and we're just blessed to be a part of it. And Cindy, you're one of them. So thank you
Thank
for joining
you
us
too.
today and sharing so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, we'll see you soon, my friend.
Bye.
Whew, wow. I mean, wow. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you for all of the comments that are here. And thank you to all of the supporters who have just reached out to help the board of directors and Cindy on staff to help us get to this point. We can see a bright future ahead for our local Children's Discovery Museum of the Desert. And we really want you to be a part of it. Like I said, it's one of those projects that's by the community for the community. So reach out to myself or Cindy and let's get this going. We couldn't be happier to help be a part of this project. If there's ever a way that I can support you professionally, your business, your nonprofit organization, please don't hesitate to let me know. That's what your Chamber of Commerce is here for. We'll see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Thanks.